Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. It is Friday, April 10th, 2015, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here's a look at tonight's stories.
Tonight, a National Guard captain discriminates against INFOWARS coverage of a dirty bomb drill. And veterans launch counter Jade Helm operations. That's next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
And if you're not with them, cops and military, then you will declare that you're with the Republic now. And don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this.
Tonight we're going to start the show with some recently released police records that show that the Pentagon sought absolute secrecy during a domestic military training exercise that took place in Minneapolis in August of 2014. This was a follow-up drill to an earlier training exercise that took place there in 2012. Now, these documents also reveal that the Minneapolis city government and the police department collaborated hand in hand with the Pentagon on violating posse comitatus in order to conduct this counterterrorism training operations inside the city without informing the public. The U.S. Navy sought to keep a low profile with strict security protocols in dealing with the Pentagon, including hand-delivered letters and face-to-face planning conversations because of the sensitivity of the training. Training specifics included low-visibility movement, low-altitude precision helicopter operations, surveillance, and counter-surveillance.
It was a sight that was hard to miss. Military helicopters buzzing by buildings in downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul.
This week, a handful of low-flying black helicopters are buzzing just over rooftops and in between buildings.
Both Minneapolis and St. Paul police say, they're just assisting in this. They will put out what information they can for the next few days, but only what the Department of Defense really lets them.
Minneapolis Mayor Betsy Hodges requested that any advance notice of the military training exercise be limited. In a letter, she respectfully requested that any information pertaining to this training be excluded from automatic public release due to the sensitivities of the training.
It's a training mission that has authorities tight-lipped.
Their name we know, Night Stalkers, or more formally, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. But what they're training for here in Minnesota is as stealth as their choppers appear.
Records on the exercise demonstrate the Pentagon is working to integrate the U.S. military and state and local police departments, an effort that strikes at the very heart of posse comitatus. Now, INFOWARS has reported extensively about the federal government violating posse comitatus, working with state and local governments in order to conduct these drills, as well as police agencies. This is exactly what is happening now with this upcoming Jade Helm exercise, and it's set to happen tomorrow in an upcoming dirty bomb drill that's going to be taking place in Richmond, California. Now, this exercise will include more than 200 soldiers, airmen, local law enforcement, and firefighting personnel who will descend upon the city in order to defuse the situation. Now, this drill is also going to involve the California National Guard's 49th Military Police Brigade, which is home to FEMA Region 9's Homeland Response Force. So not only are we seeing a violation of posse comitatus, but also an additional effort for secrecy. So not only are we seeing, once again, violation of posse comitatus, but we're also seeing a concerted effort to keep this information away from the public. Now, joining me in studio are our reporters, Jakari Jackson and Joe Biggs. You requested information to cover this event as media. However, you were denied that based on your previous reporting. Talk to me a little bit. What did you find out about this exercise, and then were you surprised with the response you got?
Well, I heard about the dirty bomb exercise, and I decided to contact the media liaison for the California National Guard to find out about the operation that was going to go on and whether or not they were going to have any kind of media be present there. And then one of our own camera guys here, Josh, said, yeah, I saw an article saying that, hey, if you're media, go to this number, call this captain. So I actually emailed him and called him. I didn't get a response back until it was like 4 or 5 hours later, and he called me and goes, yeah, what's your name, your organization? We spoke over 2 days, by phone, by email, everything's fine. And then last night I get this email and he's saying, due to the nature of our reporting and the kind of company we keep, i.e. Alex Jones and being on the show, that we would not give fair coverage to their exercise. So that's what I thought was very strange, is the fact that the Army, the California National Guard, is telling us what is fair coverage. I mean,
yeah, fair coverage oftentimes constitutes reading out their press release and not asking any questions. Because we've both experienced this, Biggs. When we went to go see Nancy Pelosi in South Texas, we called the media liaison. I made the proper arrangements. They said, hey, we'll send you a media packet so you guys can come down here. I said, great. Long story short, they never sent us anything. We go down there anyway. And then they say, we're disrupting the event because we showed up uncredentialed. I said, I talked to the guy yesterday. They refused to give you proper access. So whether you show up, they say you're in violation, or if you try to go through the proper channels and get the media credentials, they just deny you anyway.
Right, and so now we're seeing the U.S. military basically saying that they're in control of the Fourth Estate and they can decide who gets to put out their talking points.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about this entire thing is the guy who wrote me is a captain in the military, in the National Guard, basically the Army. He swore an oath to defend the Constitution. Now, I'm pretty sure somewhere in this Constitution, that seems like an old document apparently nowadays in America, that somewhere in there it says that I have the right of freedom of speech and freedom of the press.
I think it's number 1, if I'm not mistaken.
I know it's kind of hard.
I know there's a lot in there, but maybe number 1 it got read.
Such a big, outdated document apparently now that our own military and people like that kind of forget what it is. I think that's the biggest joke of this whole thing. This guy stands up for an organization that's supposed to be protecting the country and defending against enemies both foreign and domestic, and then taking this oath to the Constitution. And here he is in complete and total blatant violation of just that.
Right, and so why are they so afraid of controlling the way that this gets out there? Because they don't want people to be afraid of the fact that the military is going to be working with all these different groups, descending upon the city, conducting these drills within the city. And so we saw what happened in Miami when the military helicopters were shooting rubber bullets down the highway. People didn't know that was a drill. They didn't know they weren't shooting real bullets. People were afraid. And so here you have, a busy city there in California. I mean, so what's the big deal? Why are they trying to make the public think that this is normal?
I don't know. I mean, it's just part of their overall psyop. I mean, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I mean, because it's not just Miami. We've seen it in many other places. They had the zombie apocalypse drill out in California. No, I'm not anticipating a zombie apocalypse. It's just something they said to make it more friendly and palatable to the general public, because you got a bunch of guys running down the streets with military vehicles, jumping out of helicopters. If you got role players dressed up as zombies, okay, it's more friendly and palatable. So, if they want to have these drills, that's their business. If they feel that they need to do this to combat whatever threat, I'm not sure what city in Afghanistan looks like Miami, Florida, or San Diego, California. But if that's the reason why they feel they need to do it, that's fine. But you also have media who want to be there. And like I said, we don't read off the press releases. Case in point, we go to Ferguson, Missouri. They give the press release to CNN, we're not firing tear gas. Well, we knew they were firing tear gas because we got hit with tear gas.
And we were running for miles with our eyes swollen and the blood vessels in our eyes.
And also, they told Fox News they didn't target Al Jazeera. They helped them disassemble their equipment, which they did after shooting rubber bullets and tear gas at them. So this is why we don't...
you had that bombshell footage of them being running away.
Lo and behold, I was standing right there when it happened. But the point about this is why you don't go strictly off the press release. You go in there and you ask your questions and you get your own footage. So then even if they want to continue to tell the lies like they do in some cases, you have the footage to disprove that.
Right.
Exactly.
They don't want the media in there that's going to actually
get
say
the truth out.
What's going down. And now we're being told, since we're asking questions, they're saying, well, we've been conducting these military drills for decades. This is completely normal. We've always gone out into, it's just that we were in more obscure areas, so people didn't really notice that we were conducting these drills. But now it seems like they are conducting them out in the open, a lot more so, and we're actually seeing them rounding up citizens, like they were in Fort Lauderdale, rounding up dissidents. So am I wrong to think that there's a little bit more going on than
there's definitely
normal?
a lot more going on, and the argument that SOCOM is trying to make, and the people at Fort Bragg with Special Forces and all that, they do a 2-week training called Robin Sage, which is actually held off base, but it's been that way for years and years. Everyone who's grown up in that town, in that area, most of those people in surrounding Fort Bragg, Fayetteville, they're all military. So they're all used to the fact of helicopters flying over, artillery rounds going off. There's a 2-week exercise that happens 6 times a year. It's called Robin Sage. It's a culmination of a Green Berets training. So that's the argument they're trying to make is, oh, it's the same thing. Well, no, this is 8 weeks of hardcore training outside of a government facility encompassing, what, 10 states now? I mean,
it's
that's
a massive,
not the same thing
large-scale
as
operation.
your 2-week Robin Sage training event, which is in a very tiny area that's been going on for years. And like I said, everyone in that area is used to all of that. They've grown up with it in that area. But why does everyone else in America have to be exposed to that? And then why do they have to bring that into our backyards?
Be exposed to them unbeknownst to them.
But we spend so much money, and this is what always pisses me off. We spend so much money on these huge government training facilities, and yet we're not using them.
Right.
And they're all of a sudden now they're starting to look more and more like, you know, rural America, churches, soccer fields. I mean, why do we need that?
Right. Well, and I know that you put out a report a couple weeks ago calling on everyone to go out. You know, you said you were going to put your fatigues on and go and confront these guys and see if you could help them in their mission.
Oh, yeah, I went and spent $400 this past weekend on brand new uniforms.
Interesting. So I know we got some special reports coming up here in the future. But talk to me about this counter Jade Helm operation.
All right, so what this counter Jade Helm operation is going to be is a large group of ex-special forces, including Navy SEALs, Delta, Green Beret, all these guys who are out and awake to what's going on. And the analogy I made earlier today on the Alex Jones show was that Operation Jade Helm is they live. You know, when you're in the military, you're issued a pair of the goggles that you can see everything with. You can read all the BS behind the propaganda when they hand you documents saying that, you know, that they give out to the public. You know, where if you read it, you're going to go, look, oh, this just looks like a regular training exercise.
For the troops.
But I actually have the goggles, and they didn't take those goggles back from me because those things are embedded in my head now. I can see past that BS, much like all these other special ops guys. They're going like, all right, why are we now taking our training from these huge military facilities? Why are we now going and bringing that into the American public? So there's this operation that's going to be a counter to Jade Helm, where these guys are going to go out to all the cities, to the states, and post up, deploy, and it's nonviolent, not aggressive. They're just going to have cameras. They're going to look for the guys because they know what to look for. They've been through the exact same training. They're going to know what these guys are going to be doing, the tactics they use, how they're going to set up, how they're going to blend in, what they're going to do, and they'll know how to tell these guys and call them out. And they're going to send that information. And like we said today on the show, we're going to also have a hotline set up as well for people to call in, give us their information, send us pictures of what they've seen. So I think this is really good to know that, you know, we actually called people out to do something. They're organizing, they're ramping up.
Yeah, and I don't see any issue with that. You know, if they're standing out of the way, like you said, they're not going to be involved with the guys. They're not going to be harassing the guys. You know, if it's for the American people and it's to keep us safe, why wouldn't you want me to be filled with confidence to go and watch? I want to go see what my American military is doing. I want to see the might of my American military. Can I stand over here with my camera and film the operation?
And I know we've already got Jade Helm at INFOWARS.com is available. We're already starting to get some information sent to that email address. Someone sent us this update that Colorado is no longer going to be involved. They won't be one of the states involved in Jade Helm. It's not because their constituents there said, we're not going to do this. It's just that they were told that the military that's there isn't going to be available at that time. So Colorado will no longer be involved. It's kind of bizarre. But here, I mean, no one would have even known that this operation was going on had we not drawn attention to this and said, this is not normal.
Well, this is the thing, though. A lot of people are going like, oh, this is going to, you know, start so much chaos and it's going to have a conflict between civilians and the military. No, we actually saved a lot of lives in a sense, I feel, because don't you think being an American citizen, most of us are armed, a lot of us.
Especially in Texas
and someone's creeping through your backyard or spying through a tree, you're going to react. And how do you know that there's some secret military operation going on?
Exactly.
That's why we have to shed light on these things, bring this to the attention of the American people so they can be informed and they can be aware of the dates and times, what's going to be happening, so people won't be alarmed and make just a normal decision based off of something